अस्सलाम वालेकुम आप सबको US Consulate कराची की जानिब से काफ़ी विद क्रिश में खुश आमदीद। वेलकम टू ऑल आवर व्यूअर्स। मेरा नाम क्रिश दास है और मैं यहाँ US Consulate General कराची का तर्जुमान हूँ। So I'm the spokesperson here at the US Consulate in Karachi. This recorded message is part of our regular series through which we provide you with up-to-date information on various topics in a number of diverse areas and share lives and accomplishments of interesting personalities both from Pakistan and the United States. Our guest today is Professor Christopher Merrill, a person I greatly respect and admire. Professor Merrill is a famous poet, essayist, journalist, and a translator. He is currently serving as the director of the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa. Professor Merrill has previously held the William H. Jenks Chair in Contemporary Letters at the College of the Holy Cross, and he has also served, or I think you continue to serve, on the U.S. National Commission of UNESCO. Professor Merrill has published 6 collections of poetry, including Watch Fire, for which he received the Lavin Younger Poets Award from the Academy of American Poets, many edited volumes and translations, and 6 books of non-fiction. His books include Only the Nails Remain, Scenes from the Balkan Wars, Things of the Hidden God, Journey to the Holy Mountain, The Tree of the Doves, Ceremony, Expedition, War, and Self-Portrait with Dogwood. Professor Merrill's writings have been translated into nearly 40 languages, and his awards include a knighthood in arts and letters from the French government. As director of the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa, Professor Merrill has conducted cultural diplomacy missions to more than 50 countries, and in April 2012, President Obama appointed him to the National Council on the Humanities. I could go on and on about this, but let me start by saying Professor Merrill is also an old friend from Iowa City, from where I'm from, and we still reminisce about our meetings at the coffee shop called High Ground.
Many happy hours.
Happy hours, exactly. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And as they say in Urdu, "Hum aapka istiqbal karte hain," which means welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you, Krish.
Let me go directly to my questions. What brings you to Pakistan? Let me start off there.
Well, I've come first and foremost for the Lahore Literature Festival.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about my old friend, the Kashmiri poet Agha Shahid Ali, and about whom I wrote in Self-Portrait with Dogwood. He passed away in 2001, and there seems to be renewed interest in his work, so I've come to talk about him, to be a part of the festival that brings writers from many different places. And I'm also here with Peter Gerlach, who is the coordinator of a new program that we're running called the Summer Institute, which will bring together college-age writers from America, India, and Pakistan. We'll pilot that this summer, and we're very excited to have a chance to speak to audiences in Islamabad, in Karachi, and then in Lahore about this program.
I understand you've been to Pakistan before.
I have. I've come to the Karachi Literature Festival a few years ago and had an absolutely marvelous time. So I'm happy to be back. It's so much warmer here than it is in Iowa.
The Midwest, in Iowa, right? I think you guys had some pretty nasty weather, right?
We've had unbelievably cold weather, and it's snowing yet again. So when I got off the plane this morning in Karachi, I thought, oh, this is as good as it gets.
Exactly. But Professor Merrill, tell us a little bit about your hometown. Where did you grow up in the United States?
I grew up largely in a little town in northern New Jersey called Mendham.
Okay.
My father was a banker who commuted to New York, about an hour and a half commute, and I grew up among dairy farms and blue-collar workers and commuters like my father. I went to high school, though, in Hillside, near Elizabeth, New Jersey, where we did not play American football, we played soccer.
You played soccer, and that's referred to as football in the subcontinent.
Exactly, and so I early on was introduced to the beautiful game, and that I think of that as the start of everything for me.
And what made you become what made you become a writer? I mean, or what got you interested in writing? Because I mean, you said you grew up in a family. Your dad was a banker. How come you did not think about banking or something else?
Well, the fact is, I wanted to do only two things when I was in high school. I wanted to be a soccer player and a poet. So as you can imagine, my father, the banker, was in despair that his son was going to be a complete ne'er-do-well. And but it was from the beginning. I found such joy both on the soccer field and trying to make things on the page as a poet and writing stories.
Okay. That I'm sure if you were taking up soccer, it would have been a little more challenging, at least to the physical body, I guess.
It was certainly challenging to the body, and as it happens, when I finished my collegiate soccer playing career, that happened to be when the only professional league in America went bankrupt. So I had no choice.
All right, we won't explore that any further. But Professor Merrill, you serve as the director of the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa as well. For the awareness of our viewers in Pakistan, tell us a little bit about this program. How did the writing program come into being, and how can an aspiring writer apply to be part of this particular program? Mm-hmm. And I also understand that the IWP, that the writing program, has produced some Booker and Pulitzer Prize winners and also a couple of Nobel laureates. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, it's an interesting story because in Iowa City, in the middle of the country, small city, in the early 1920s, a dean decided to grant graduate credit for creative work in writing, in dance, in theater, in music, in all the performing arts. Out of that grew the very famous Iowa Writers' Workshop, which the son of the local horse dealer, Paul Engel, directed for 25 years. And by the time he retired in the mid-1960s, he had fallen in love with a Chinese novelist named Nia Waling. And she said to him, "Why don't you start an international writing program?" He thought that was the craziest idea he had ever heard. And then the two of them set about creating that very program. It's a unique residency program in the world of letters. We host every fall for 3 months, 30 to 35 writers, distinguished writers, those who
come from across the globe.
We've hosted
from all countries.
All countries. We've hosted 1,500 writers from 150 countries now.
Amazing.
And they come to write, to give readings, to give panel discussions, to engage in a very lively conversation about everything under the sun. We call it the United Nations of Writers.
In the middle of
in the middle of
the heartland
country.
of America.
Exactly. And what's wonderful about it is that we've produced a lot of great writers, including the Turkish novelist Orhan Pamuk, who won the Nobel Prize, the Chinese novelist Mo Yan, who won the Nobel Prize, great writers from all over the world.
How many Pakistanis have been part of this wonderful writing program?
Well, until I came in 2000, only one. But in my tenure, we've had 8 more writers, including writers like H.M. Naqvi, Bina Shah, Haris Khalik, Shandana Minhas, Bilal Tanwir.
And they're all big names here in Pakistan.
Yeah, and they enliven the conversation. In fact, I'm thrilled to be back in Karachi to see my old friends, Naqvi and Bina.
And apart from the fact, I mean, talking about Karachi, just want to point out that I've been here for a year and a half now, and this is one of the most hospitable places on the face of the planet. Pakistanis are by far one of the most hospitable people I have met.
And they have one of the great cuisines of the world.
The great cuisine, exactly. The biryani, right?
Yeah, the biryani, yeah. And the halim.
And the halim, that's
Yes,
right, that's right.
yeah.
You are also visiting the U.S. government-funded Center for Excellence in Journalism here in Karachi, which is housed at the IBA. What are some of your engagements at the Center for Excellence in Journalism? We call it, it's also referred to as the CEJ. Can you share some thoughts?
Yeah.
What are you planning to do there?
I'm really excited to be in the presence of these lively young journalists, and we'll be doing a panel on the future of media studies.
Okay.
And then I will be teaching a workshop, a creative writing workshop.
Okay.
And this, for me, marries a couple of long-standing interests. I worked as a journalist in the former Yugoslavia covering that war, and have also worked for 10 years for the BBC Public Radio International program called The World. So I have had a chance to work in print, in radio, and of course, like every human being, I watch the news on TV. So,
and you'll be sharing all of those experiences.
I will indeed.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then segueing from there to a creative writing workshop where we will be talking about the ways in which writers get inspiration, how they learn their craft, how they keep going when the going gets tough, all those sorts of matters.
You have also been an avid traveler. Tell us some of the your favorite places that you've visited. I mean, I know you've been to more than 50 countries. I'm sure you've been to more, those 50 countries were on work, at least partly on work.
Yeah.
But you've also traveled on pleasure,
Yeah.
for pleasure. What has been your favorite? What are your thoughts about that particular place?
Well, early in my career, my first prose book was about the World Cup in Italy in 1990.
Okay.
And for the whole time that I was traveling in Italy and writing that book, I thought Italy was the greatest place on the planet. But I've been so many other places since that it's hard to narrow it down, but I love Greece. I've traveled often in Afghanistan and found that to be an indescribably beautiful country. We've had some meals in Baghdad.
In Baghdad, exactly.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I was driving in Kurdistan thinking this was an indescribably beautiful place. So
And of course now you're in Karachi, another
I'm
beautiful
in Karachi,
place.
and on my way to Lahore, which I've never been to, but I'm eager to see that, to see this fabled city.
So do you have any advice for aspiring writers from Pakistan?
Yeah, well, the advice I would pass on is the same advice I've received at various points. One, you have to read a lot, and you have to read like a writer, trying to figure out how other writers do what they do. And then you have to write all the time, and you have to be prepared to fail, and as Samuel Beckett said, fail again, fail better. The key for a young writer is to be persistent, to keep at it. As a well-known American writer once said, no writer works seriously for 10 years without finding success.
Well said.
And success might mean different things to different writers, but what it means is that it becomes a part of your life.
Yeah. So the idea is, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to practice,
And have the
tenacity
exactly.
to not give up.
Yeah.
Well, Professor Merrill, again, thank you so much for being here. We're running out of time, unfortunately. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and learning more about your remarkable career and informing our audience about the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa. We thank you for your time and sharing your wise words and thoughts. I'm sure all our viewers enjoyed this conversation as much as I did.
Thank you, Krish.
Yeah, thanks again for coming. We wish you all the best for all your future projects, programs, endeavors. And big thanks to all of you, our viewers, who have joined us for this chat. Have a good day, shukriya, or Allah Hafiz.